Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Read. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
Josh, really quickly, before we get going too much, this is just a general peek into the real lives of your favorite hosts. My wife right now is on the verge of headed out to go look after a dog that desperately needs a cuddle. So I just want to say, bye, honey. Love you very much. I will see you later. So, yes, I just needed to embarrass her just a little bit. We've been putting things together around our condo, and you might hear her headed out. The reason you might hear her headed out, as opposed to me being in more of a podcast setup, is my cat is in my podcast setup right now. He had iodine radiation last week, and part of that is a 2-week quarantine that he is thankfully on the back half of, because for the first half of it, he was a pretty miserable little guy. But thankfully, it seems like he's doing better, and hopefully within the next 5 or 6 days, he'll wind up being back to his original self. Until then, I am coming to you plausibly live from my dining room table with Mr. Arnold Palmer looking over my shoulder. That's a picture that he signed for my late grandmother. I didn't ask for a whole heck of a lot from my grandparents after their house wound up going on the market. I got this one. I'm pretty proud of it. It is on my dining room wall here, so you'll all be able to see that if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go on down below, hit the like button, and hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out.
Andrew, now that I heard the door shut, can we retell the Hawaii story?
Which Hawaii story is this?
I just remember there was a story that, like, you're like, well, your fiance, like, my fiance doesn't listen to this, and you told the story, and it was like the one time she ever listened to our podcast. So
yep. I do remember that, although I don't remember the exact nature of the details. But I'm very thankful to have a wife that apparently occasionally listens to my stuff.
So little side story is I attempted one of the most difficult things that you could possibly do in just everyday life. Just like one of the worst things outside of like doing your taxes and stuff that happens on a yearly basis. Just one of the most inconvenient, just frustrating things that you could possibly do. I had to reinstall Windows.
Oh no.
So I noticed about 2 weeks ago that I was having issues with my computer. I was booting up. I was playing it. I was getting ready to play a game with Caleb and our buddy Steve, and I'm having all kinds of weird issues, and all of a sudden blue screen. And
Oh
like,
no.
I get a blue screen every once in a while. Not a big deal. Loads back up, and when everything loads back up, well, all of a sudden, now my like everything's frozen when I log in. Computer boots up real quick, but then I get the error. It says we need to repair your C drive. I'm like, okay, whatever. Repairs it, done, loads up, and then all of a sudden my computer, like I log in, my computer just freezes, and I'm like, this is weird. And so I restart, same thing happens. And I started noticing if I leave it for like 5 to 7 minutes, everything's fine. But literally, the computer is frozen, can't do anything. So, I'm like, I think it's time. I need to reinstall Windows, which I don't know the last time I did a clean install of Windows. The drive I had instead Windows installed on was like one of the OG solid state drives that that people like recommended, right? It was a Samsung. I think it was an 850. Super small. It was only 250 gigs. But I used it as my Windows drive because I had Windows on it, and so like I would just replace all the other drives outside of it, and I left that one. So I checked the health. The health still said like 60%, but it was 4 to 5 times more used than any of my other drives. And so I'm like, all right, I think it's just giving up the ghost at this point. And before I just like get completely stuck, I need to reformat. And so I basically had another one of my drives that I was using as a storage drive. And I moved what I thought was important or what I could think of. Moved some programs around. So I'm doing all this, and I, this rarely happens. I do double duty on Thursdays sometimes. I do stuff with Louis Rabot every once in a while. Shout out to the horse racing happy hour. I did that today with Chase, the sniper, and Louis. Now you can check that out anywhere you can find the horse racing happy hour. Um, did that with him, and all this time I'm working, and I'm like, you know what? While I'm working, I can on my other screen reformat Windows, get everything going, and it looked like it was going to be a time crunch. I was going to get everything reformatted maybe about 10 minutes before was going to be completed about 10 minutes before the stream. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just set up my mobile setup. I've recorded dozens at this point of podcasts and videos and stuff anywhere and everywhere, right? I remember one time I recorded with our friend Gino Bacola. We did something I think for Derby Week a couple years ago. I was literally at a conference with my laptop tucked away in a corner, like waiting for like the shuttle to take me back, and I just like recorded. Right, I've done this hundreds of times. Well, get everything ready on my mobile setup. Microphone's not working. That's weird. I literally just used all this at your wedding, Andrew. I literally just used it when we went. What is it, month and a half ago at this
Did it
point?
drink some of the wine in Livermore? Is that potentially it?
Oh man, I don't know. I drank most of the wine in Livermore. Andrew, I lost count how many glasses of wine I had at your wedding. I gotta say, Andrew, the wine setup at your wedding was amazing. I feel
They,
like if you like just the fact that you walked up and just grabbed your wine, like they had all poured out and everything. You didn't have to. I mean, if you're getting beers and other stuff, like you maybe had a little bit of weight, but I was in wine mode that weekend. I was just walking up, grabbing glasses of red, like rapid fire. It was great.
well,
Um,
regular listeners of our podcast may assume that you're in wine mode all the time, just with an H instead of WINE, waka, waka, waka. But at any rate, no, we've actually we've heard a lot of good things, and that's one of the great things about Northern California. They know their wine, they know how to serve it, and they know people want a fair amount of it. I don't think anybody left there thinking, "Gosh, I really wish I had more to drink."
yeah, no, it was great. We had a great time. But anyways, so all of a sudden, laptop stuff's not working. My mobile setup's not working, and everything else is working. And then I have two backup microphones, one for like a room setup and one for like a regular podcast mic. And I'm like, all right, I got to get to the room setup, and it still sounds good. It's just not as good as talking directly into a mic like this.
Right.
So I get that mic set up, plug it in. It also doesn't work. So at this point, I'm like, apparently it's the cable that's got to be bad. Andrew, it is a mini USB cable, not a
Hmm.
micro USB cable, a mini USB cable, which, if you guys remember, are the little kind of like they almost look like a small little rectangle with a
Yep.
little like trapezoid kind of like thing on the bottom. No other things in modern technology use this type of cable anymore. Nothing uses this cable. So I was like digging through everything, couldn't find another cable. So, mind you, now computer finally came up. This is 10 minutes before I'm supposed to do this stream with Louis, and I get logged into like Gmail. He sent me a link and everything. Wouldn't you know it, Andrew? I launch StreamYard. I get logged in. After a clean restart, everything worked. Camera
Hey,
worked, microphone worked. Like, was it ideal? No. My soundboard, like, I gotta set up the soundboard and everything all over again. Really, the only thing I got is this right now. You know,
we'll get some use out of that, I'm sure.
um, but and then great because we had that. Then obviously, of course, I'm doing this on the day I'm recording three things in a row.
Yep.
So did the show with Louie, did our stream. We're check that out where we covered Colonial Downs late pick five, which is a pretty good sequence there and
Couple
some
of
nice
turf
horses running
races,
there.
right? Couple of big turf
Yep,
races. Yeah.
yep. And then obviously we talked a little Saratoga because obviously we love Saratoga, but man, it heck of a day. You know, we made it. My setup is coming along, and most importantly, the like last handful of games that I've played all work.
There you
So
go.
if
That's a
I gotta
spirit.
restart, if I gotta reinstall some stuff, I gotta reinstall some stuff. But I think I came out of it pretty unscathed. It was pretty it was pretty painless, but it definitely it definitely wasn't looking great for about 15 minutes there, but we pulled through.
That's the important thing. If you, as long as you're pulling through, everything else will take care of itself. And thankfully, you're able to do the shows that you do. Thankfully, you're able to do this one. And thankfully, we'll be able to take a look at the late pick four on Saturday, August 9th at Saratoga. 12 race card, first post 12:35 for those of you on the East Coast. We're starting in race number 9, 5:07 p.m. with the Grade 2 Saratoga Oaks Invitational. I'm just guessing they didn't have to use too much card stock with the invitations because we've got a field of 6 signed on here.
Yeah,
Hooray, paper joke.
it's always weird, right? This weekend, uh, we'll say pre-COVID, was always a jam-packed weekend, right? Because you had the Arlington Million, but actually at Arlington, and something like I said, I mentioned this on our stream that we did with Caleb and Mark, right? Chicago is equine wise a very very good airport to fly into. A lot of
Mhm.
imports wherever they're going fly into Chicago. They have the quarantine barn in O'Hare, and when Arlington was open and actually still a building, um, it from O'Hare it was a quick 30 to 45-minute drive depending on traffic. I mean sometimes even I think you could probably get there in 20 minutes without traffic, but real quick drive. So it, I always felt like Arlington Million weekend, like that day, you would get a ton of shippers in because it would be super easy to just fly into Chicago and go over there. You see this happen a lot of times when Breeders' Cups are in um, Kentucky. Sometimes they fly into Chicago and quarantine, and then they ship down from there. Um, and previously, Four Star Dave, I believe, was traditionally on this weekend. Um, and I know with a lot of with the stakes schedule kind of getting shuffled a little bit because of the Fourth of July weekend and other things. I know Four Star Dave moved. Um, so I don't know. We were talking a little bit like this. This seems like a little bit of a quote unquote B type weekend now. Arlington Million still the same race by name. I don't think in spirit is the same race. It still has a grade one designation, but I don't think you get as much of the international shippers anymore. And yeah, this race also kind of came up a little. I think a little short in numbers. I think there's a couple of really nice horses in here.
There are.
So class wise, I feel like it shapes up to a grade two. But as betters, we always like to see 8, 9, 10 horses, 12 horses in these types of races. But we get 6 here. Laurel Lynn's your 9 to 5 favorite. Uh, for Grand Motion and Kendrick Carmouche. 2-1 on Mr. Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt on Opulent Restraint. You get 7-2 on Go Go Boots. First time in the Clement Barn for Jose Ortiz aboard. And Andrew, I actually wanted to ask you because you're on top of this a little bit better than I am, and I couldn't find the information in a quick glance, but maybe you know off the top of your head. Was this a private purchase from Bobby Flay, or did Bobby Flay have this horse with John Godson already?
I was wondering the same question. I have no idea. I
Hmm.
don't know. And I think it's very curious that there are no works on the sheet, that this is a pretty quick turnaround for a horse coming in from England to go to America with no works on the tab. I'm not sure what the deal is with Go Go Boots. I do think, though, that Go Go Boots isn't without a shot because she's run fairly well at similar distances. And there are a couple of horses in this field that are stretching out to where this distance is an unknown. Most notably, the sixth, Laurelin. She's shown she's a very good miler and she's 4 for 4 in the career. She's done very little wrong. I'm using her, but sort of as a B. My lone A, and where I'm going to be funneling most of my action through, is the one Opulent Restraint, who, based on anything you can potentially look at, looks like the lone speed in this particular race. And lone speed in a 2-turn turf race on the NYRA circuit at Saratoga in particular could prove very difficult to run down. She ran very well last time out in the Belmont Oaks. There's no shame in being third, beaten 3/4 of a length by Fione and Nitrogen. Those are very nice horses. Neither of them show up in this spot. And the thing that I like is it seems like she gets a little bit better as the distances are getting longer. And perhaps she's also improving with experience. If you're watching us on YouTube, you see she got a time from US rating of 117 in that last effort. And she did so setting a very solid pace, 46 and 3 to the half, 110 for 6 furlongs. She's not going to have to go nearly as fast to make the lead in this spot. Flavian Pratt might be a little bit better with horses coming off the pace, but I think Opulent Restraint gets comfortable and forgets to stop. I like her on top as a lone A. I'll be using Laurelin solely because I've got a single elsewhere on the ticket and I just want to be able to get there. But Opulent Restraint to me looks pretty tough here in the Saratoga Oaks.
Yeah, I really like Opulent Restraint in this spot. That's my top pick. Um, this is an improving type here, and I always feel like when Chad Brown gets these horses going in the right direction, uh, they kind of they keep going in that direction. And especially with fillies, 3-year-old fillies, he gets them going, and they generally turn out to be nice horses. And this is a horse that ran third by 3/4 of a length to Fione and Nitrogen, like you mentioned before. And got a 117 time form rating for that time form speed figure, and that tops the field. So I don't really think that there's much else to say. I think is going to have a tactical advantage is kind of the speed of the speed in this race, but I don't think necessarily needs the lead in order to win. I really like the one Opulent Restraint in here. The 3 Go-Go Boots that we mentioned earlier, um, coming out of John Godson's barn, coming over here to the Clement barn, and I really think that this is a horse that is one of the few that have already shown that the distance isn't going to be a problem. We kind of talked about Laurelin here. Looks like a really, really good miler at mile and 16th, but we're going an extra furlong here. So I think that could be a tough ask sometimes for these horses. Opulent Restraint's gone a mile and an eighth, so a little bit closer. But Go-Go Boots has gone a mile and a half. And in pretty good company, and didn't necessarily embarrass herself in that company. So I think Go-Go Boots is definitely in here with a good shot. She's a lone B for me. I think Opulent Restraint is the horse to beat in here, and that's my lone A in this spot.
So, the one thing I will say before we move on, I find this very interesting. Go Go Boots last time out was ridden by William Buick. Buick's in town, but he's not on this horse. I think that's interesting. And that may very well just be a case of him going to a new barn as opposed to going for John Gostin, who would have been more inclined to use him in this spot. But I'd like to hear the story if there is one. Unfortunately, I don't have it. If you have it, go to YouTube, go down into the comments, and let us know.
Anything else on this race?
I mean, it's a good field quality wise. This is a good quality group. Got to feel the 6 signed on. Not necessarily ideal from the standpoint of trying to start a late pick 4, but it's a good group for the level with a couple of horses that seem to be on their way up the class ladder, and that's always a good thing.
All right, let's move on here to race number 10, which is the Grade 1 Sword Dancer. We're going to be going 1.5 miles on the inner turf here. And your morning line favorite in this race is the 6 Farbridge at 9-5. You get 3-1 on Nation's Pride. And then you get 4-1 on El Cordobez, 8-1 on Rebel Red and Utah Beach, double digits on the rest. This is a rarity. This is something I don't think we've ever seen on this show. I'm actually quite shocked because, Andrew, I believe we have the same 3 horses.
Wow!
In this race, we each not, and it's happened where maybe I use 2 horses and you use 4, and we have those horses in common, or you may be single and I use a single and some other horse. Like this has happened before, like that.
Right.
But we each use exactly 3 horses, and we use the same 3 horses. Now, granted, I don't think we exactly we're not pulling the rabbit out of a hat here and picking like 3 really unlikely horses, but I thought that was interesting, Andrew. So I'll let you go first. Where did you land in this race?
So my top pick is Farbridge. The race 2 back in the Manhattan, he was flying late. That race was just a little too short for him. Remember, the Manhattan was supposed to be 1 mile and 3/16. They moved it to 1 mile and 1/8. They switched it to the inner turf, and he really got hurt by that. This is a horse that wants to be able to go a little bit longer as opposed to that 1 mile and 1/8 distance. They stretched this horse back out to a marathon distance in the Bowling Green, and son of a gun, he winds up jogging in that Bowling Green, winning by 3 lengths. It said drew clear. Rosario had the whip cock, didn't need to use it. There was a lot left in reserve on that particular day, and if Farbridge runs his race, I think he is the horse to beat. He's a lone A type for me. I'll be pressing some of my opinions through 2 singles to start, singling the 1 in the 9th and singling the 6 in the 10th. The 2 Bs that I've got, Nation's Pride on his best day could absolutely win this race, and he's one of a few cool horses for trainer Charlie Appleby, or Chucky Apples, as our friend Chase likes to call him here. Very well traveled. He's seen most of the world, and he's run well in most of those spots. I have to wonder, though, if maybe we've seen the best of him, because his races this year, they've been okay. If you're seeing us on YouTube, you're seeing the time form figures. He ran a 1:18, 2 starts back over at Maidan. That's not bad. It's not like he's running terribly, but if you look back in the 2024 form, you see a horse that won the Arlington Million with a 1:27 time form, and I think he'll need to be that kind of horse in order to beat these. I'm not sure if he's capable of doing that. He can, and if he is, I'll be alive, but some of my tickets will be dead. My third choice, though, Josh, I am stunned in part that you have this horse on your tickets because you hate good stories. You despise good stories with every fiber of your being. Ignacio Correas is retiring soon. He's dispersing his stable fairly shortly. He's got a live one here with Utah Beach, a winner 2 and 3 starts back, who didn't have a great trip last time out at Churchill. A jockey switch away from one of your favorite riders to Jose Ortiz, which I knew you were going to talk about, so I won't step on your toes too much. But those efforts 2 and 3 back both came at this 1.5 mile distance. Yes, he got favorable pace setups, and I don't know what kind of pace he's going to get here. But on his best day, Josh, he's absolutely a contender. And I think you're going to get that 8-1 morning line price because I think Farbridge at 9-5 is about accurate. I think there's a chance Nation's Pride comes down a little bit. I think maybe Nation's Pride's stablemate El Cordobes comes up a little bit. I think you are still going to get 8-1 or so on Utah Beach just because he's shown himself to be a grade 2, grade 3 caliber on paper. I think he may very well be a grade 1 type horse that's coming into his own as a 5-year-old. Every bit of his pedigree says he's going to get better with distance and experience. That's exactly what's happened with Utah Beach. He is not without a shot in here. And if you're looking for a price, I think that's the way you want to go, as you maybe hear my dishwasher rattling around in approval, that being about 10 feet away from me. If you haven't heard that, then this microphone was a very good investment.
So, Andrew, this race a couple of years ago was one of, I don't know, it was just one of my, it's one of my go-to examples for reading a pace scenario. And oh my goodness, why am I forgetting the name of the horse? I want to say the name of the horse was Glorious Empire, but maybe I'm making that up.
Well, hold on just a second here. We will go to the source of all knowledge. Glorious Empire 2018, Chucky Lawrence.
Yes, wire to wire winner in this race. Uh, Let me know. Tell me if you've heard that before. Inner turf race at Saratoga being wired,
Yep.
but it was just an absolute masterclass of a ride on the front end. And I always think about that race when this race comes up.
You know who the
And
rider was that day, right?
no, who was it?
Julian Leperoux.
Goodness
Shout out to our
gracious, I
man at
can't believe
DeRosa.
that. Crazy. Um, and so when I looked at this race, the first thing I looked at was the pace scenario, right? And I know this hasn't been his style in the past, but Nation's Pride has got a shot to maybe try and take this thing wire to wire. I think he's lost a step, or if not lost a step, it is on a little bit of the downward trajectory, like we kind of talked about. I think it's a little curious he ends up here and not back at Colonial for the million again. A track that he handled previously and won. And so I thought it was a little curious he ends up here. But, you know, there's just this is a race that's pretty devoid of speed. And I could maybe see Nation's Pride either right on the lead or sitting in second. And I think that's the way he wins this race. Now we'll have to see what tactics they employ because you look at the last 5 or 6 races, and I feel like they've tried different things in each of the last couple tries. So train your intent. What instructions you're gonna get. We'll see. Um, that being said, Farbridge. One thing like this is normally right. I see 9 to 5 in a 9-10 horse field, and I'm like, all right, how do I beat this horse? And the way Farbridge loses this race is if he loses at contact with the field and has to close from a really, really far out of it. But Joel has the last couple of times he's ridden this horse kept this horse within a handful of lengths of the lead. And I mean, heck, they wired this sword dancer last year on a
I
slip
remember
race.
I needed measured time very, very badly that day.
So I feel like they've been tactical with this horse when they need to be, and that wasn't always the case. If you go back to 2024, this is a horse that they were keeping much further off. And I feel like as soon as they started being more tactical with this horse, the wins just started coming in, and this horse just became a different horse. So I can't count Farbridge out completely because of that. Um, Utah Beach, I mean, Nacho Correas, yeah, retiring back to his homeland in Argentina. It was funny. I was talking in private chat with a group of guys that I talk with, including Mark. Caleb and a couple of our buddies.
Basically,
And
everyone except me. I get it. It's okay. I'll just go over here and slink her into the corner now.
no, Matthew DeSantis is also not in this group, so don't worry.
Oh, well, he's too busy jinxing Saratoga with promises of fast and firm conditions. And literally, the second he did that today, Christina Talamo from the Albany NBC affiliate goes on and talks about storms and lightning at the Great
Oh
Sacandaga
God.
Lake, which is not far from Saratoga. If that's not a warning from the weather gods, I don't know what is. Love you, buddy.
But the funny thing is that so I was talking with them, and Mark goes, "Well, at least he had a horse of a lifetime, and he was, he's able to retire." And I stopped and I asked Mark, I'm like, "Which horse?" Because I was thinking Blue Prize.
Yeah, Blue Prize was something.
He was thinking, "Oh my goodness, why am I forgetting now the other horse? What's the turf horse that I love to bet?" Um, oh my goodness, now I'm blanking. Um, but it was funny. I was like, Mark, because like I was thinking like he's had a really really good career, but
Didia, Didia.
Didia, thank you, Didia, which is another horse that's another horse that I love to bet. I thought that
Yep.
was such a cool horse, and Mark was thinking Didia. I was like, did you forget about Blue Prize? He's like, I did. I was like, how do like I don't remember anything about horse racing. It's like, how do I remember Blue Prize, but you forgot about Blue Prize? Um, but yeah, I mean, Nacho Correas, when I first started following horse racing, he would send a lot of horses to Arlington. So he was always around. He was one of the guys I kind of knew about and followed early on in my handicapping career, which is only spanned at this point about 7 years. So yeah, it's sad that he's retiring. He deserves it. And hey, let's see if he can go out with another Grade One win here. I think Utah Beach looks good. Timeform loves this horse. Timeform thinks this horse is just as fast as Farbridge, and you're gonna get 4, 5, 6 times the price on this horse. So I'll definitely be using. So see this race the same as you. Farbridge is gonna have to just. It's gonna take a lot, I think, for Farbridge to lose. I think Nation's Pride's only chance is to try and wire this thing, and I think Utah Beach is in here with a shot.
So I've only got one thing to add here, and you're going to not want to get off this race fast enough. You mentioned Farbridge and how the chances of that horse losing would be increased if he lost contact with the field. So you're saying that if Farbridge is too far off the pace, it'd be a bridge too far? Waka, waka, waka.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
And now on to race number 11. And Josh, if you're going to throw up, I'll take the lead on this because I've got a pretty strong opinion as it comes to race number 11. And that is, I am against the morning line favorite. That's the one Practical Love. Practical Love ran a very good race on figures last time out. You're seeing the time form numbers, ran a 104. That was easily the best race this horse has ever run. I don't think she beat much that day. And I think this is a pretty decent first level allowance. I do think Practical Love goes off favored, and I'm going to try to beat her. I am going 4 deep in here without using that one. My top pick is number 3, Alieska, who was at one point a fantastic story. So this was a Mary Lou Whitney homebred that debuted for Norm Cassie back in September at Churchill. She was actually entered to run at Saratoga a couple of times last summer, scratched a couple of times. It just didn't come to pass. She ran a big race in her debut, rallying from 11th, getting up to get the money despite a pretty rough trip. Then she goes to the sidelines. She comes back for Chad Brown. She runs okay in the return to the races on July 5th, but she had every right, Josh, to need that race. And she may have been a little bit too close to the pace. I think she wants to sit back and make one run. That race's winner, Ragtime, all Ragtime did last time out was run a pretty darn good second in the Grade 1 test over the weekend. This is a good race. It does also include Next on Stage, who I imagine we'll talk about, but I can't get past the fact that Alieska was so good first time out. I think she needed the race last time out. The last couple of works have been very good. Chad Brown doesn't overwork his horses in the morning. So I see those last two works, specifically that eighth fastest of 153 at the distance back on August 2nd. I think Alieska is ready to run, and that if she's not the favorite, that's a mistake. Next on stage is my second choice. Ran second last time out, has run second a lot, but certainly looks like a horse that could sit an ideal stalking trip in here. Likes the 7 furlong distance. Need to at least use that horse. I will have two others that I'm using in here, one of which is a big price. Number 2, Limes Don't Lie, is the other Chad Brown. I liked her quite a bit last time out of the Wilson chute. Proved to just be a little bit too long. Some horses don't like the Wilson chute. Some handicappers don't like the Wilson chute, so I can't hold that against her too much. She may still have some room to improve as well. The other one that I'm going to throw in is number 6, Street View, who I think looks a lot better if you draw a line through the races this horse has run over wet tracks. This horse does not like the mud. Do that, and in the last 4 starts, you've got 3 wins and a second, including a win at this distance downstate at Aqueduct. Granted, that was over probably a weaker field than what she faces on this occasion, but I think there's a chance Street View has some talent and is starting to come into her own a little bit as a 4-year-old. I see 15 to 1 on the morning line. I don't know if we get that price, but I will certainly be using this horse at 10 to 1, 12 to 1. I think she's got a shot in here, although I am going to be using her as a bit more of a B. But Josh, I'd much rather have Street View at her likely price than Practical Love at hers.
Yeah, and I don't think we've talked enough about how well Ricardo Santana Jr. is
Oh, he's
riding
been
right now.
great.
I mean, I think honestly, like I think Irad is leading the standings currently, but I don't think anybody is riding better than Ricardo Santana Jr. is right now. He is just absolutely lights out, and he's not getting the same mounts that Irad's getting, and he is winning some really really nice races. So I think you got to watch out for that. And just kind of the same way, JJ Javier Castellano has been as cold as you possibly can be. I mean, it basically took him riding the favorite for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint to win a race at
That
Saratoga. I
horse
mean,
is a rocket ship, by the
yep.
way.
So hot and cold. But yeah, Ricky's about as hot as they come right now. Um, I agree with you on the 3 Alieska. That's probably my top pick in this race. Um, Lightly raced horse, right? One on first asking, and that last figure, while it was a third place effort. Um, Buyer gave that a really really good number. Timeform gives it a good number. It was kind of, Timeform's got those blue fractions there in the middle, so it looks kind of wonky. And you know, I don't really know kind of what happened with that race, but Chad Brown off the long layoff and then bringing him back second time. He does this with intention, and I really think that Alieska is live in this spot. And I think next on stage is also live, coming out of that same race. Showed some speed, and um, you know, I don't love betting horses that kind of get that easy lead and then kind of fade the second there. But Ragtime came out of that race and ran a heck of a race. Next time out, ended up backing that up. Finishing second to Kill Win in the test, and closing. I mean, from pretty far off of it. I mean, that race did kind of fall apart, but backed up that effort. So I think those two horses coming out of that common race, both live. So I like the 3 and the 8. Um, I am going to use the 1 Practical Love. Uh, you know, I think maybe this could just be a case of light bulb type horse that took a while to kind of go. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that you heard of a Bill Mott horse being a late developer. Um, and you get Jose Ortiz aboard here. Um, lot to like there. I think Junior is out of town. Is he in? I think he's at Colonial.
It would make
So
sense. Yeah.
yeah, so I don't think too much about it being Jose, although Jose and Bill Mott I think are like 1 for 16 or something the last year, so not a high winning percentage there, but I basically landed on the three chalks here. I landed on the 1, the 3, and the 8, and yeah, I do think that the 3 and the 8 probably like them a little bit more than the 1, but I could definitely see the 1 winning here.
One quick note on the test because you flashed the chart on the screen. Bet look forward out of that race. I'm not saying look forward was going to win, but she had to stop to a walk when me and Molly McGee stopped dead in front of her. So I do think you want look forward next time out whenever she winds up running back. I don't even think it says as much in the chart comments there. And I think that's a miss. I think it's easy to see around the 3/8 pole. Look forward is running well and winds up getting completely stopped. I'm not saying she was going to win that particular race. She should have at least been a pretty close up third. She had a lot of horse and just never really had a chance to show it.
Andrew, I was having a good day. I had to reformat my PC, but it went pretty smoothly. Work's been going pretty good, getting stuff done. Just checking boxes, getting all this stuff done, and then you had to bring up Look Forward, which
Sorry
is the
about that.
horse, which was the horse that I think was carrying about what 500 pounds
I was going to say
extra.
800 pounds, but yeah, because every single one of us liked Look Forward. And look, I'm not saying Look Forward should have won the test because Kilwin overcame a lot.
Yeah.
But if you look at that race and you don't think Look Forward had a bad trip, I don't know what you're watching.
All right, and then for our last race here, Andrew, we're gonna be going a mile and the eighth, a 3-year-old and up New York bred turf allowance race. And you got a single in here. Talk to me.
Yeah, I can't get overly cute with this one. My single is your likely favorite. That's the 2 Amplitude, who came running last time out to be fourth beaten 3 lengths. Probably needed that race to a certain extent. And once again, looks to get some pace to run at here. Second off the bench for Chad Brown. For the level, even for the level, New York bred first level allowance, I don't think this is a truly high quality group. You're seeing a lot of finger legs horses come in that in some cases have never tried turf, aren't necessarily bred for the turf. I think Amplitude gets the right field in here. I think Amplitude gets the speed that he needs to chase in order to get the money in this spot. I think a lot of things line up for this particular horse. And with that, Amplitude's a single for me in the late pick 4, largely because if he doesn't win, I don't know who does. You take a look at the rest of this field. The horse that I'll likely be picking in second is the 10 Charles J. Charles J comes out of a race that wasn't bad for the level, but I'm puzzled as to why they're adding blinkers back with this horse when the 3 times this horse ran with blinkers last summer, he didn't really run a jump. He did not run well. And the post position for the turf at Saratoga, that 10 hole, that's not all that great. El Deleri is probably going to be part of the early pace. He's going to take some money, but he's not going to be alone on the front end. And even last time he got the lead at the top of the stretch and just couldn't wind up getting the money. I think he might well want dirt given some of the races that he's run over the course of his career. The 7 Fidelite Cayute is 3-1. He's your second choice. He comes in off of races at Monmouth. He hasn't won in a while. He hits me as a horse that likes running second and third. Dream horse to own. I mean, he was a $15,000 auction purchase, and he's made over $182,000. Nice work if you can get it. But I'm looking at this field, and Josh, if Amplitude doesn't win, I don't know who does.
Yeah, Amplitude could win this race. But 2 straight, kind of, and I granted, I know 1 was off the bench here. I think 2 straight kind of races where you would have kind of thought that this horse would have won or maybe put in a better effort. Um, I don't know, taking a short price on it. I had a hard time getting to that horse. I do like how did you say it? Fidel
Like Cayute, I believe, is the exact way to
Fidolite
put it. I could be
Cayute.
wrong. I mean, I'm looking at that horse, and again, dream to own. This is a horse that ran second in a stakes race here last year. I can see somebody potentially liking this horse, and on figures, this horse absolutely fits. If you look at that May 18th race, he ran a 116. That's a big number, but I can't get there on a horse whose lone recent win came on dirt at Tampa. I can't do it.
Yes, but you know how they say going from maiden claiming or maiden to maiden claiming is the biggest class drop in horse racing.
Sure.
I think going from open company to state bred is probably number 3 or 4 in biggest class drop. So
So I would agree with you on that, but he's coming in from an open race at Monmouth. Does that alter the perception of that at all?
Timeform doesn't think so. Timeform gave that a 115 class rating,
Okay.
and they're giving this race I think like a 106. So it seems like they think that this race is much easier company. So um, yeah, I mean I do think that 116 is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, five back, but I'm gonna take a shot here, and honestly I think Charles J. Um, I mean, call me hard headed, but the fact that Irad stays aboard tells me that, he's got to be seeing something in the morning or something in order to stick around on this. He doesn't ride for Joseph Lee very much. I think it's maybe like 2 or 3 mounts over the last year or two. Um, and Joseph Lee has been kind of snake bitten so far this meet. He's doesn't have a huge barn, but he wins at about a 20% rate. And
You know
I
who
think
his big horse is?
who?
A member of the Andrew Gambling Hall of Fame, Mayday Ready.
Oh, there you go.
And
Um,
unfortunately, Mayday Ready hasn't really improved from 2 to 3. She's run a couple of times, and it's not like she's run bad, but it certainly seems like she's plateaued. But yeah, this is not a trainer jockey combination you see very often. And I would like Charles J a little bit more with a better post. I think the 10 hole is a legitimate question mark.
yeah, but I just kind of figures look good for this horse. Broke its maiden in the New York bred race last October. Has come back and run fine the last 3 times out, and I just like I said, I just think the fact that Irad stays aboard is probably saying at least something because you know Irad could probably ride 2/3 of the mounts in this race if he wanted to. So the fact he ends up there, makes me think that he might be seeing something there in the morning. But um, yeah, I'm just gonna go 7-10 here. So I'm basically taking your second and third choices, and you're taking your singles. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this race, and we can address the fact that Time Firm US sees this as a fast pace. I tend to agree. Number one, Skylar Starship has dirt sprinter speed. I think he's going to go. Number 4, Tony O has some speed. El Delary has speed and is going to go. Terminal Velocity found himself on the front end last time out, may also go. Fidolite Coyote has some speed and may go. A-Lister's got some speed. I do think we're going to get some pace in here, which I know is the kiss of death as far as New York turf races
mm,
go, because anytime we think that somebody goes out in 24 and change, 49 and change, and wires the field. But I just think this race sets up for a closer, and I think Amplitude is absolutely the one you want. So that's ultimately the one that I'm singling, and it's a case where if Amplitude doesn't fire, your guess is as good as mine as far as which horse does. So I'm going to try to use this late pick 4 to extract some value out of my strongest opinion. And I'm not getting cute there. I'm going to single Amplitude to finish things off and go a little bit deeper elsewhere. Hopefully get a price or two home around that one.
all right. Anything else?
I mean, I think we talked a lot about these last 4 races. It's a good card. I haven't quite finished getting through this. We're recording it on Thursday night, so you'll probably see this at some point on Friday. You'll also be able to see my analysis of the complete Friday card up on andrewchampagne.com on Friday and in print in the Pink Sheet on Saturday. hopefully we get a little bit better as the week goes on. Wednesday was rough. I ran second and third pretty much all day, and there was some of that on Thursday. So hopefully we're winding up heating up as we head towards the races that are going to have bigger purses and bigger pools.
And that's going to do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Obviously, check us out on onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Jerry Drank. He is at Andrew Champagne. Have a good weekend, everybody. Let's make some money.